Today we're working on a cute little styled model AR John Deere. Servicing the clutch. Going to get this thing going. It'll need fuel changed out, carburetor gone through, and get the spark working and all that kind of stuff. But for now I'm just going to check the clutch over real good. So I've got it all apart here. There's a bearing inside here after you get it apart that needs grease on it and clean up a little bit. That bearing is in good shape. I was able to check it. On this side is a bushing, and again that needs grease in it because when the pulley is not turning, the crankshaft turns inside that bushing. So I've got these parts greased, here where the bushing runs and here where the bearing is going to run on. Everything seems free. I've checked for broken castings and different things here. Everything seems fine. This big cup here closes down tight. You can hear it make a nice solid clunk. And so I've done a little bit of minor lubrication on those moving parts. And so I'll get this little critter mounted on the stand here. So in order to take that pulley out and give it a good servicing, I had to loosen the tire and break it off. I didn't have to take it right off. There's no fluid in it. It was quite easy to handle. There we go, she's in. Now the next part that goes on is the inside part of the clutch, the central part. In this case here, as compared to the unstyled AR, there is timing marks on here. This is part of the crankshaft balancing system, so there's a mark on the end of the crankshaft and there's a mark on here. They have to line up. The old unstyled ARs have a dead spline in it. You cannot assemble it properly. So I've left the facing the way I found it. These facings are all good, so I'm going to just put them back in, and I've kept them in the orientation that they were. So double checking my marks, I've got the two arrows are facing each other. This is the big bolt that will tighten later. Holds that together. It's a tapered spline. When I was taking this off, I had to get different bolts and also than the unstyled. These are 1-inch nuts with a 9/16 bolt in it, square nuts. You put the flat side out, and that way there's spots in here that like you can't see it on the camera, but there's spots where you set these and you can put some tension onto that hub to pull it off of the tapered spline. And in this case here I didn't have to heat anything. I was able to give it a few bumps with a good punch, and that brought it right off. So that's all there is to that. A little longer bolts would have been nice, but I don't have much for 9/16. So again, I've kept the facings the way I found them. So we're going to put this one in first. We've checked them over. The rivets are good. They're not worn down to the rivets where it's going to do any damage. The holes of that go there. Now this critter here goes on the splines. And that looks interchangeable, but I'm going to put it back the same way I found it so that it's on the way the discs have seated in. So that's on the splines there. Now these little, so there's one more disc here that I'll just leave inside this one. I guess it likes it in there. And these 3 springs, they're mounted onto here, and there's mating spots for them. There's little bumps for them to fit onto down there. So that'll go in next. That'll keep everything oriented the way I found it. Now this one has washers. Now that's to make up for wear on stuff. So we'll just get that started. A thread or so. It's not quite seated yet, but it'll get there. So when I get the shifter back in, I've had to heat this rod here so I can get the linkage loose. Now this is a shifter that fits on that big hub. It's in not bad shape. This part is thick. I've seen them where they're worn very thin from use. So this actually looks quite good. Clutch facings are good. This part's good. Usually there's some play in here, and I've seen these a lot worse. This one isn't that bad. So this is going to go in. There's a slot, only one way that it can go in there, and then so we'll get the rest of the linkage up. So the goal is to set these bolts by manipulating the clutch and getting it so it over centers and makes that little notch into the front so it's locked in. Set these evenly and a tiny bit at a time so that you've got a good engagement of the clutch, but not so hard that it's hard to pull back in and out.